Hello, hi. My name is Amy Maclean, and I work in the NHS for students and for the NHS to try to work on creative ways that we expose young people to programs and opportunities and health issues to try to make the NHS a better place to work and also a better place to care for its citizens. So, those are just a lot of words. But right now, I'm here to talk to you about a project that we are going to do with you. And we're very excited about this. This project is called Community Research Work Experience. It's also known as Community Leadership Work Experience because you are going to be not only researchers, but also leaders. Okay. So I need you to buckle your imaginary seatbelt and come on a little journey with us. I'm going to explain the project to you in just a few minutes now. And then over the course of the next few weeks, you are going to be taken on this journey and participate in this journey. And what's going to happen on the other end of it when you're finished is you're going to be smarter, more connected to the community, and more connected, hopefully, to the NHS. So, are you ready to come on this journey with us? I hope so. Buckle your seatbelt. Right. So the reason why we've come up with this project is because we know that it's very difficult sometimes for young people to access experiences in the NHS to help expose them to what kinds of jobs or opportunities might be out there. The NHS is a really, really busy place. It doesn't always think about how to get people as young people to come and work for it. They're very focused on university age students and placements and things like that. We want to make that different for kids, particularly in Birmingham and Solihull. So we worked with some students at George Dixon Academy a few years ago now, just coming out of COVID, who were struggling to get work experience. And we thought, you know what? Why don't we, rather than trying to get in the building to do experience, why don't we do something in our own community? Because that's easier to going out in my own community and trying to do some things. And maybe I can do some things that might be helpful for the NHS. I can give what I've learned in the community to the NHS. And in turn, they will then offer some of their more exposure to things going on in their buildings. So that's where the idea came from. And what we've done is turned this into a little project that we can do in schools or in youth groups. And the beauty of it is it doesn't take that much commitment from our NHS colleagues. They want to commit a lot of time, but they're very busy. So it's hard to find colleagues who can give us a lot of time. So we've kind of sold this within the NHS as, you know what, you can do something really impactful for a lot of kids, but doesn't have to take about a lot of time. So that's how they're coming to the project. What we're going to ask you to do is to become a community researcher. And you are going to go out into your communities. Communities can be your peers at school or in your group. They can be your teachers. They can be your families. They can be your aunts, uncles, cousins. They can be people that you haven't met before. People in your community or people who live around you. And we're going to ask you to have some conversations with those people to help discover from your very special young person's perspective about some of the information that would be really helpful for people in the NHS. Okay, I hope that doesn't sound intimidating or daunting or scary. Hopefully it's a little bit challenging, because that's good. We want you to be challenged. And we're going to support you to have those conversations by giving you some training. So in a short time, we are going to come in and spend a couple of hours with you teaching you how to be a community researcher. Okay. And in that session, you're going to learn how to ask questions, how to tap into emotion, because that's really at the heart of so many interesting parts of healthcare is the emotion, the feelings that people have when they're at their most vulnerable and trying to get the care that they need. So we're going to teach you a little bit about that. And we're going to teach you a little bit about how to ask those questions safely. So that's about asking for consent and asking for them to understand what it is that you're trying to do. Those are all part of the research process. So we're going to teach you how to do that. And at the end of that 2-hour session, where we teach you about being a community researcher, you are going to be a qualified community researcher, and you're going to get a little badge that looks like this. I hope you can see this. And it says NHS Community Researcher, and you get to wear it. And when you wear it, you are signified as someone who's had some training. And you can have those conversations with people. Don't worry, we'll support you on how to have those conversations, and we will support you on how to gain consent and the papers and the QR codes and the things that you might need to make that really easy. So that'll take about 2 hours. Then we're going to bring in a clinician or a professional in the NHS, and that professional has signed up to this project because they are curious to know what you can find out for them. And they're going to spend a little bit of time with you, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, and they're going to share with you about their job and about what they do, what their journey has been to getting into that job, because all of this is also about kind of demystifying some of the stuff that goes on behind the doors in the NHS. You might think, who is this person talking to me? She works in the NHS. I'm not clinical. I faint at blood. It's not me, but I'm a project manager, and I do lots of things that use some of my skills to be able to move things forward in the NHS. So there's another job for you that you might not have known about. We need all sorts of people to work in the NHS, not just clinicians. So that particular clinician is going to come and spend that hour or 2 hours with you. And at the end of their time with you, you're going to get to know them as well. You're going to know their name, and you're going to know where they work. And this is also part of building your professional network. If you want to work in the NHS someday, you're going to want to know people who want you to be there and want to support you. So meeting people and knowing their names and all of that is part of being part of our community in Birmingham and Solihull, to get to know, feel like you've got some touch points of care and support around you that are beyond the school or the youth group that you're in. So at the end of that session, that clinician is going to share with you maybe 5 or 6 questions that he or she would like you to go and ask in your community. You might come up with those questions with that person too, co-design them, come up with, give her or him some questions that you'd like to go and ask. That's good too. So at the end of that session, you're going to be ready to go. You're going to have understood how to be a community researcher, and you understand a little bit about an area of the NHS, and you're going to be ready to go and have some conversations. And you can have these conversations in a group. You can have them on your own. You can have them with a teacher if you need some support. Lots of different ways for you to feel safe and confident to go and have some of these conversations. We want you to go out and have these conversations, and then we're going to bring that clinician or that colleague back in to talk to you about what you've learned. Okay, so that's a really great session because they're going to just sit down and say, tell me, what did you learn from your conversations? Nothing fancy, nothing formal. You might have kept a notebook. You might have just remembered some of the stories. That's okay. And you're going to just share what you learned with that person. And that person is going to go, oh, that is so interesting. Wow. I'm curious about this. And maybe you have the answers to things she or he is curious about, or maybe you want to go back and have another conversation. Doesn't really matter. The point is that you're showing that some of the research that you've done is already helpful for that particular clinician. And if you want, you can go to another level in this project. Project could end right there, by the way, with that final conversation with that clinician. But actually, that clinician will probably invite you to do something even further with what you've learned. And that is to put together a more formal presentation, maybe something on PowerPoint or just on cards, or maybe you want to make a little video, or however you want to communicate what you've learned. That clinician is going to gather some of his or her colleagues in a room, perhaps even on a Teams or a Zoom call, to listen to what you've learned. So a little bit more substance can be added and a little bit more reflection from you about not just what I learned, but actually what that impact for you has been. I'll give you an example. Some of the research we've done has been around the birthing experiences of families in Birmingham, of your parents' birthing experiences, even of you. That's interesting to our colleagues. and going home and asking your family about their birthing experiences or any health kind of episode that they might have had and what their feelings and what made it great and what could have made it better is interesting to our clinicians. So you feeding that back to us, not just informally, but then coming and presenting formally about what you learned and then how that learning made you feel about your prospects of being cared for in the NHS or working in the NHS, whatever, however it makes you feel. There's no right or wrong answer. That reflection is also really interesting to people in the NHS. So we're going to invite you to do all of that and support you along the way. And at the end of this project, we call it community research or community leadership work experience because you will have experienced a part of working in the NHS that you might not even have realized is part of what we try to do and what's important to us. You'll get a certificate. You'll get some data points that will show you what you've done, the many hours that you've put into it, um, and all of that will be written down, which you can add to your CV, to your UCAS statement, to whatever you have coming up in your future where you need to explain an experience you've had that's made a difference, not just to yourself, but to people and professions around you. So we're giving you a bit of a story to tell. Okay. So I'm really excited for you. I've seen a number of probably over 100 students now have come through this project, and they always emerge walking a little bit straighter, a little bit taller, a little more confident, and ready for the next challenge that life brings their way. So whether or not you work in the NHS or not, we know that this project is going to be good for you. And we're here to support you along the way. So good luck, and get ready for your next stop along this journey. Keep your seatbelt buckled. And we're going to introduce you now to our colleague who's going to come in and teach you about being a community researcher. Look forward to meeting you soon. Bye-bye.